With interest in electrical cars being at an all-time high due to their low impact on the environment and soft-sounding engines, there's no doubt that EVs are the future. In fact, countries like Norway are looking to eradicate gas guzzlers by 2025. But what do we really know about these tree-hugging automobiles? And what is it that makes them tick? For all this and more, stay tuned. We're about to jump right into it. Looking the part. First things first, it's important to note that the majority of electric vehicles currently on the market look very similar to the fossil fuel reliant machines we've come to love over the years. But this has less to do with practicality and more to do with general consensus on what looks good. A great example of this can be found in the imitation grills that usually plaster the latest and greatest EVs. Remember, the entire purpose of a grill is to increase the amount of air taken into an engine. As it turns out, the more air that's taken into a fuel-based engine, the greater the performance of that engine at the end of the day. But when it comes to electric vehicles, air intake really doesn't make a difference. So then why try and imitate the type of cars they're trying to replace? Well, essentially speaking, this has to do with the marketability of EVs. You see, it used to be the case that electric vehicles weren't as powerful as their gaseous counterparts. There was a certain taboo against having a vehicle that was considerate to the environment for some reason, which is why we now have EVs that look almost indistinguishable from their gas-guzzling brothers and sisters. It's only when you look under the hood of an EV that you really see what makes it tick. So let's do exactly that. Where does the energy of an electric vehicle come from? Rather than relying on the fossil fuels that have plagued our world for generations, electric vehicles are powered by a large electric battery which, more often than not, can be found underneath the car. It's the electric battery which provides the vehicle with the energy required to get moving. But it's not like some scientist has gone to the shop and enlarged a AA battery to fit into the undercarriage of the EV. In fact, the battery itself is actually made up of a pack of smaller lithium-ion battery modules, which themselves have been formed from individual battery cells linked together to deliver the most power in an efficient way. The process of creating these batteries can be quite complicated though, which explains why full electric vehicles are still so expensive to own. But as the days go by, more and more research is being dedicated to increasing the density of these batteries while lowering their initial cost, making them far more attainable in the future. But as you can imagine, the flowing of electrons from the anode to the cathode is, in the case of all batteries, causes more than its fair share of heat. This is why each battery pack is cooled by a thermal management system and contained within a protective case. This solidly reduces thermal runaway, which, when left alone, could cause a range of explosive fires. That being said, these vehicles are still less likely to catch fire than those powered by combustible gases. The workings of the electric motor. Now that we know where the energy of an EV comes from, let's take a look at how this electricity is actually used to get the vehicle moving. In order to understand this, we have to head on over to the motor, which surprisingly follows the same principles discovered by Nikola Tesla in the 19th century. For those of you who don't know, Tesla was made famous because of its ability to convert electrical energy into mechanical energy, an idea that was clearly ahead of its time and is currently being used to power EVs and hybrids of all sports. Essentially, the complex motor for an electric vehicle does this by receiving the electricity from the battery at its stator, which is the stationary part of the motor. This in turn creates a magnetic field that is responsible for turning the rotating part of the motor, known as the rotor. It's then the spinning of this rotor that goes on to create the mechanical energy necessary to get the wheels of the vehicle turning, allowing for it to drive. Suffice to say, the more electricity that can be provided to the stator, the faster the rotor will turn. This is why fully charged EVs perform a lot better than those that are running low on electricity. This simplified process also means that there is no shifting between gears when it comes to the driving of an EV, with both acceleration and deceleration of the vehicle being pretty smooth. How do EVs power all systems simultaneously? Electricity isn't just important when it comes to the running of an EV though. Even gas guzzlers are reliant on this power source to run everything from central locking to air conditioning. Which begs the question, how is an electric motor responsible for the provision of all these services on top of the actual driving of the car? And as it turns out, the answer is pretty simple. You see, more often than not, EVs are powered by a dual motor system, with one motor being dedicated to what's referred to as city driving, while the induction motor is more so dedicated to higher speeds. It could even be the case that each specific wheel is powered by its own motor, resulting in a four-wheel drive experience that increases both maneuverability and traction. And once you know this, it's easy to guess where the power for everything from the car radio to the nav system comes from. Another motor, of course. So rather than relying on a combustible engine to drive the vehicle, while an electric battery is used to power the electrics of the vehicle, an EV relies on its lithium-ion battery to do this all, directing all electricity to the various motors as described. What does this mean for the acceleration of the vehicle? Although the working of an electric vehicle is very different from those of a petrol car, it must be said that driving is relatively similar, although we'd be doing you a disservice if we left things like that, as there are a few differences that you'd need to take heed of. A great example is the improved acceleration that EV motors often have at their disposal. They've become known for their quick off-the-blocks movement because of their ability to start with moderate to high rotations per minute, otherwise known as revolutions per minute. The same can't be said for petrol motors, which need to start with low RPMs and then increase them gradually through incremental gear shifts. Because of this, there's usually a delay in reaching what's referred to as the maximum torque of the wheel. As we mentioned earlier though, EVs reach their maximum torque immediately upon pressing the accelerator, which is what allows them to be propelled forward at such quick speeds. Suffice to say, EVs have some of the highest 0 to 60 accelerations in the world right now, which is perfect for everything from avoiding accidents to overtaking. It's really no wonder that these vehicles are considered to be the future. How do you refuel electric vehicles? Another drastic change that comes with the owning of an electric vehicle can be found in the refueling strategy necessary to ensure you don't get marooned on the side of the road. Rather than stopping at a fuel station to fill up with unleaded, EVs require drivers to recharge their batteries. This is done by connecting a recharge pump plug to its recharge port, similar to how you'd charge your smartphone before heading to bed. Something to remember here is that charging your vehicle does take significantly longer than refueling a petrol car, which is why the majority of recharging takes place overnight at the home of the owner. And as you can imagine, this is opening the door for electricians to specialize even further in the days to come. So remember, if you're already an electrician running your own business or just about to start and grow your own electrical business, you must learn the 4 critical things electrical business owners wish they'd learned before starting an electrical business so you don't make the same mistakes. Electrician Accelerator has put together a free training video you can watch right now. I'll show you exactly how to start, grow, and build your electrical business the right way, so you can consistently guarantee profitable work, free up your time, all whilst reducing stress levels and allowing you to have a sustainable and more profitable business that works for you. In this free training video, you'll also learn how to generate a steady stream of jobs on demand and with predictability month after month in your local area, without relying on word-of-mouth referrals, how to stop competing on price with other electricians and escape your competition, how to convert at least 90% of your quotes and estimates into sales, and how to command premium prices and attract high-quality customers that'll be happy to pay more. Make sure to click the link in the description. Let us know what you thought about our explanation and the workings of EVs in the comments section down below.